I went to him and asked him for help, he looked at me straight in my eyes and he said, "Are you ready to coach?" I was like, wait, I'm asking you for help. He goes, "I heard you. Are you ready to coach?" I'm confused. I'm asking you to help me. I want to learn from you. I understand that. But until you're ready to coach, I'm not going to coach you. Because you got to understand, there's going to be a point in time in your lifting career, in your life, that you might be in the gym and some kid that you feel is just bothering you is going to come up and say, "Hey, I see what you're doing there. That looks awesome. What does that do? How are you getting that strong?" Are you going to take a moment to share what I'm giving to you to that person? If you're not, then I'm not going to coach you, because it's about passing it on. It's about taking the knowledge that I've been gifted with because of somebody else and planting seeds in other people. And man, that stuck with me so hard, so good, so long that, yeah, what he instilled in me, I'm trying to pass on into other people.
Yeah, I'd say since I met you, that's definitely shown through.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not a power lifter background. You know, I came out of the Marine Corps, and my history's in boxing and things like that. But I started lifting real hard this year, and said, I want to get as strong as I can, and I plan on competing in powerlifting, actually the sport, next year. But in March, I linked up with Niko, and basically, because he gave his card to someone at the Veterans Center and said, "Hey, if you know vets, who might be interested in working out and getting strong, here's my card. I'll help them out." So I did that, and for no charge at all, he taught me pretty much everything, and I've had great gains this year, training with the methods that Niko trains people with. What are some of the records you've held in some of the, maybe your best lifts?
Let's see. All right. My best lifts. Now, I did say I started my career off raw. And 6 years, my first 6 years of my career, raw. And then I tried, single ply bench shirts, single ply, single ply squat suits and stuff like that. I'll give you my best raw numbers ever. And squat with just belt and knee wraps, 733. Raw bench, 530. And I still deadlift raw, just because of my leverages and being a super heavyweight, trying to breathe and stuff. I've always pulled raw. And last November, at the age of 41, I deadlifted 745 raw, just a belt.
Right on.
Yeah. Now, single ply, squat suit, knee wraps, belt, 810. Bench shirt, officially 650. I've handled more, but officially 650 in the deadlift. So best equipped single ply total, 2133. Best raw total, if you want to consider knee wraps, belt, back in the day, it was 1935.
Wow.
So trying to get that back up there as an older guy, and after fighting off some injuries, going back to raw, which I'm loving right now, really trying to get my numbers back up to where they should be in my mind. So far, I've actually hit at 1850 raw total, coming back. And, it's funny. You think you'd maintain that raw strength after training in gear. I tell you what, it's a different ball game nowadays. It's not like just putting on the bench shirt and magically putting on 100, 150 pounds on your bench. Back in the day, 2001. 2001, when I transitioned over and wearing my very first bench shirt. Back then, it was the Inzer Blast, extra heavy duty blast shirt. Well, it's like wearing my 12-year-old son's t-shirt. It took 3 guys to get it on, 20 minutes, knuckles are bleeding. You look like 15 pounds of crap shoved in a 5-pound sack. And you know how much I got out of my bench shirt back then? I got 5 pounds out of it. Just because it was that different. It's that different of a groove, that different of a technique. And it blew my mind. And it took me a little while, but then eventually, taking that number up over, 560, and then the new generation of the Titan gear, the Furies back then, and hit my first 600. I can't remember when that was. 2002, 2003, maybe, something like that. And then going all the way up to 650. Now I've handled more than that unofficially, but yeah, 650 my best in the bench single ply.
Here's the lesson to be learned from this, folks. You can get really strong drug-free.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can be stronger, much stronger than most people who ever touch steroids drug-free. Now, of course, there's going to be guys at the very, very top, just like in bodybuilding, who are, who are taking this stuff, and of course it's going to help them out. But the fact is, the vast majority of people who take steroids aren't as strong as they look, and there's drug-free USAPL, IPF guys out there who can definitely outlift them. So if you're the type of person who either doesn't want to do drugs or doesn't have the money for drugs or for whatever reason isn't going to do them, don't be discouraged. Stay in the gym. You can still get stronger and more muscular and bigger than you could probably imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, it comes down to programming, folks. Finding the right program that works for you. Balanced diet, rest. Being drug-free, yeah, it takes a lot longer to get those gains. But they stay with you, and they're much more long-lasting and much more rewarding. I mean, what's 15 minutes of fame compared to a lifetime? All right? Yeah, I've been competing going on my 21st year. I'm still making gains. I just told you, last November I pulled the most weight I've ever pulled in my career at 41, okay? And I got started late in this game. I didn't get started until I was 22 because football took up my life, I'm working with high school kids that 14 years of age, and I'm telling them, look, if you're 14, you've got a 10-year jump on where I was at your age, okay? And they look at me, and I'm like, look, folks, I'm no kidding, you can look this up. My freshman year in high school, I wrestled 119, okay? I was 145 my sophomore year. I was 155 my junior year. I was 170 my senior. I went to Lockhaven weighing $180 soaking wet. I ate. I went to my position coach, who's an AD at a local high school now, and how can I do it without the use of drugs? He goes, you got to eat and you got to squat. Well, I hated squatting. I hated it. All right, but I loved eating. So you know what? You got to do it. You got to do what you don't like to do to get better. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And that was one of the things Coach Slyke instilled in me. He goes, what's the lift you hate the most? I said, squat. Well, guess what he was known for? Yeah, and he made me squat.
Right.
Over and over and over again because of form and technique. And he goes, you're not here to impress me because you don't. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I came home from London in 95 as a junior. And I don't know if you guys know who Mark Henry is, pro wrestler.
Well, you should know who he is.
Yeah, man. The man weighs 412 pounds and one of the strongest human beings on the face of the planet. Well, I've competed against him. And I was fortunate enough to actually beat one of his records in London. Yeah, he holds all of our junior world records except one, and that's when I beat his raw bench back then.
Right on.